Collington Chidi, thank you. Not be my fault, oh. Now the wahala of survivor in Lagos, when you spend 5-6 hours in traffic, every time you go out, then you become very scarce. You are easier to catch in traffic than anywhere else. So that's the life of a Lagos Nigerian. Yes, now. That's the only time the Lagosians sit still long enough to be caught. If you are not in traffic in Lagos, life is a constant treadmill. You're constantly jogging on the same spot, more or less. That's what it is. Wow. Well, I've always been, I don't know, you know, I can be a very passionate person, and my my crazy hairstyles and stuff started, actually, they all have their root in that. The Afro started with me protesting Obasanjo's third-term ambition. So I said until he left, I wasn't going to have a haircut, because prior to that time, I was always clean-shaven. All through my university days, my early days in law practice, I was always clean-shaven. But when Obasanjo started that is shenanigan, I was so angry, but I was still, most of the time, the combustion starts from within you. But I couldn't be carrying placard all over the street. So I simply decided, you know what, I wasn't shaving my head until Obasanjo left office. So for almost 2 years, I was going around without shaving my head. So those who knew me back then would ask, Dele, why aren't you calling your hair? I'm like, no, until Obasanjo leaves office, I ain't going nowhere. I'm not going to see the barber. So the day he left, I went to see the barber and I had my hair cut. And then I looked in the mirror and I saw myself looking like one of my uncles I don't particularly like too much. So I decided, no, I wasn't having a haircut again. So I left the hair and it was more convenient. So when they now picked up Agba and Yele and Mandate, you know, it was such an annoying thing for me that we would have spent our youth getting rid of Babangida, getting rid of finally Abacha by the grace of God. And then somebody will come that I didn't vote for him, but some people voted for him, promoted him, were taken in by the fraudulence of his claim. And then the same person was busy locking people up in jail. So I was like, oh, fuck this shit. I ain't combing my hair until they release these people, because everybody was just going around like everything was cool and dandy, and I just couldn't figure it out. So I was like, okay, if this society is this crazy, let me go crazy as well. So I left the hair alone. So when people ask me, because I was sitting in the midst of pretty influential and rich people, I'm blessed to have a few coins to rub together so I can fly business class with them. And then I see them, ministers and all, crooked bastards, the whole lot of them sat around me. And then they see me looking like a madman in their midst. But I can pay for it, so ain't nothing you can do about the fact that you got a madman sat next to you. But you are actually the mad one. So that's how it started. The big beard started with me placing myself on a timeline. If you don't finish this book, that was Do Not Die in Their War, then you can't shave. Then I finished the book and I found that I liked the beard. And it's the same with the hair. They've released Yele, they've released Dagba, Mandate is out, but there are several people in Nigerian prisons forgotten on a daily basis. So yeah, the hair is a protest. The protest essentially was tied to those guys, but they're all out now. But really, what's there to celebrate about Nigeria? And then it's convenient. So I like it.
Yeah, talking about Yele and Mandate and our Jalingo, they released Yele from the detention, but they still kept him under city arrest. He can't move around and all of that. So you're right. What is there to celebrate? Yeah, I'm talking about your book, Do Not Die in Their War.
Die in Their War.
Yes, tell me about that book. What's behind that book? I know, let me tell you what normally happens. Whenever I have guests and I tell them to tell me about their book, they're like, if I tell you about the book now, you won't buy it.
Me, I'm not even, essentially for me, the book is available for free download down here.
Oh, okay.
Online. It's completely available for free download.
Okay, so tell me.
All written. Sorry?
No, tell me about the book. Tell me about the book.
See, Do Not Die in Their War is not the book I set out to write. The book I set out to write, I am just finishing now. But the book I set out to write would have been completely lost in the cacophony of noise it would have generated if I had released it without having provided the context that Do Not Die in Their War, as by the grace of God, provided. Do Not Die in Their War is essentially a collection of a citizen's engagement and recollections with his society, with his state. I can't call it a nation, really. Nigerians are unfortunate in the sense that they can't speak in terms of a nation. And we really can't speak anyway, but truth of the matter is that you can view it more or less as a collection of a citizen's pain, or shall I say deprived citizens' pains with the state that could have been, the nation that could have been. So when you read through it, you read stuff from my childhood, you read stuff about politicians, you read stuff about the Nigerian system, you read stuff pointing out where our errors began, you read stuff pointing out where we could be going. But most importantly, there is a constitution, a draft constitution that is annexed to the foot of that book. It's 59 pages. That constitution for me is the most important part of that book, because the one thing Nigerians have agreed upon almost with unanimity, even our rulers who have afflicted us, they mouth it. Everybody agrees that where we are is not sustainable. But we have conflicting visions as to where we should be going and how we can get there. When you have laid bare, as much as I sought to lay bare, the vile nudity of the Nigerian state, it became a matter of extreme importance that I must offer a way forward if the book was not to end up being just another compilation of Nigerian mysteries and pains. Bellyaching is not an alternative for governance or for a vision. So it wasn't sufficient that I bellyached, and I bellyached sufficiently in the book. I lamented a lot about several things Nigerian. But ultimately, I offered a way forward. And for me, the importance of that is that even as crazy as the situation might appear to be now, history has taught me that ultimately, at the end of every round of madness, men eventually sit down to talk to each other, and then they look at the different ideas that might be available to take them forward. So Do Not Die in Their War is an attempt at diagnosing the Nigerian problem, or problems as the case might be, and then profiling a way forward to take us away from where we are. We've all agreed it's not the place we want to be. The next thing is, how do we go to where we were going? I've offered a way forward.
Thank you very much. I'm going to come later and talk about where you're coming from in terms of your upbringing, so we'll get to know the Dele Farotimi that a lot of us don't know. But when you were talking, you mentioned something. You said you wanted to call Nigeria, you wanted to say nation, but you're like you're reluctant to call it a nation. Why? What is Nigeria if Nigeria is not a nation, and why do you think it's not a nation?
Well, I had a 12-year stint in the university system. The earlier part of that was spent seeking to pick up a degree in English language and linguistics. It's left me with a lifelong predilection, and that is the fact that I love linguistic exactitude. When you use a word, it must mean exactly what it is intended to mean by the native speakers of the word. The word nation cannot by any stretch of the imagination apply to the Nigerian state. The Nigerian state is a collection of nations. Several nations forced together willy-nilly without their consent by the white man for his own purposes. In 1960, when we became a state, there was a process of agreement that brought the different ethnic nationalities, nations, into a state. And they came together on the basis of an agreement, which was the 1960 Constitution. A lot of Nigerians are blatantly unaware of their history. So when I get the opportunities such as the one you have offered me, I am left with no choice but to seek to break these things to granular so that it becomes easier for them to understand.
Well, I appreciate it. Go ahead.
In 1951, there was a legislative council inaugurated in this country. That legislative council actually contains the kernel of Nigeria's problem because it appropriated exactly half of its membership to what is referred to amorphously as the North. And then it breaks down the remaining, I believe it was 18 to the south, 18 to the east, 18 to the west, and 36 to what is generally referred to as the North. So right from the onset, when Nigerians began to have a voice in the governance of Nigeria, there was already a lopsided foundation. But that is something I don't want to go into now, so that in order not to confuse all of us. But the key thing you must understand is this. The formation of that council in 1951 laid the foundation for the way Nigeria was eventually structured up to the independence in 1960. How does this happen? It happened because, one, agreements were reached all from that 1951, but let me say as far back as 48, agreements were reached that determined the composition of the governments. And these agreements were reached with ethnic nationalities, even though they were the big threes, broken into the three regions that existed at the time. But there were sufficient concerns for the rights of the minorities. And before independence, I believe it must have been in 1957, the Willings Commission was set up to address the rights of the minorities, their concerns about marginalization within the larger regions. What is happening is that ethnic nationalities had voices, but citizenship had not emerged. But the ethnic nationalities were speaking as aggregations of the citizens. So at each point, our voices were being reckoned with in the creation and construction of the Nigerian state that emerged and became independent in 1960. It was an imperfect system, but it was an agreed system. There was a federation of 3 regions. Those 3 regions, following the Willings Commission report, created the Midwestern region out of the Western region. So there was further constitutional development after independence. So in 1963, there was a Republican Constitution of 1963, which removed the Queen as the titular head of Nigeria, and which also assured that a 4th region was created. So after the Oyibo man had left, we had enough sense to sit down amongst ourselves, in spite of our differences. We further developed our constitution. We added a region. There were 2 more in the pipeline if the Willings Commission was to be followed through. Eventually, one was to come out of the north, another was to come out of the east. This never happened before the coup of 1966, January. That 1966 January coup was the excuse for the state hijack that we are all suffering today, because that was the last time the voices of Nigerians were ever heard in the governance of their country. So when you speak in terms of nations, it will be most fraudulent to refer to Nigeria as a nation, or to even stretch any imagination and refer to it as a federation, because it is anything but federal. It has become you can't even call it a unitary state. You'll be abusing the British, and you'll be giving unitarism a bad name. Nigeria has become more or less a feudal state. It's the modern iteration of the Sultanate. The governors our emirs. So Nigerian nation, don't kill yourself. There is no such thing. There is no Nigerian nation. There is a failing Nigerian state. And there are several ethnic nationalities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I listen to Nnamdi Kanu a lot, and I hear him talk like this too. So it's beginning to make me think that yes. There's a lot of sense in what you guys are saying. So when Nigeria is not a nation and it's a contraption that seems to defy a name, you'll be able to put it better because you're the linguistic man. Let me not bite my tongue. So you proffered solutions in your book. Would you want to let us into what you think should be the solution to trying to make Nigeria a state, or have we gotten to that point where it is absolutely irredeemable? And then if it is, what's the alternative?
You know, when you started out, you said, I am saying more or less the same things that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu says. And you're correct. I don't believe we don't really have much by way of differences, except perhaps one thing. There is a point of divergence. And the point of divergence is the point where Nnamdi speaks for Ndigbo and says, we are leaving Nigeria. Now, I am a man who do not accept the limitations of binary visions. And I am not the sort who believes in is always black or white. There are always shades.
But let me, by way of information, if you will listen to Nnamdi's interview with Dele Momodu, Chief Dele Momodu asked him, what if there was like, isn't there any other alternative you're willing to, consider? And then Nnamdi Kanu said, listen, if there was a referendum and the people voted, and majority of the people said, this is what we want to remain in the country called Nigeria, that he doesn't see anything wrong with it. He will go with the will of the people. But what he does not subscribe to is the fact that you will not even give the people an opportunity to decide what they want to be. I just wanted to throw that in.
No, fair enough. You see, I was having a conversation with our mutual friend Yele in the early days of our discussions, and I explained something to him. I said it in Yoruba. I'll seek to explain. Yes. I said, I feso kebosi niko kenshe josi. That means it is when you shout, it is when you shout for help that determines whether people will dance to it or flee from you. In Yoruba, if you want to shout help, help, you say ibosi, 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 ibosi. When you shout like that, people will run. But if you say ibosi, ibosi, it becomes a song. Okay. People dance. So it's a function of your choice of language. It's also a function of your choice of tactics. I have very little disagreement of any sort, as far as I know, and I've said this on different occasions. My point of divergence, and this might be based on a misunderstanding, my point of divergence with any one of the IPOB people I have spoken with has been the point where I'm like, no, we have to first of all fail before we talk secession. But if Mazi is now saying, and I haven't heard, but let me correct myself. Somebody had mentioned this before now and said, have you watched Mazi's interview with Dele Momodu? But I haven't.
I think you should. I think
I will, actually.
You should, yeah.
But in all honesty, the minute secession is off the table and we are talking referendum, of course we should have referendum. Of course we should. There is no reason why we shouldn't. But you see, here is the danger. And this is what I'm always running away from, which is why I don't make it front and center in my discussions regarding Nigeria. And I'll take you back a little. Immediately after the NSAS protests were broken by the government, violently broken too, Kano State, remember that he had bottles of alcohol to break. Northern governors began to speak against SARS and talk about it as though it were to be something against Muhammadu Buhari. It is not by accident. Our people get easily distracted. It is because they have recognized that one of the ways of breaking nationalist movements is to introduce tribe and introduce religion. So they brought out the two at the same time. Now, don't forget that the common man in the northern part of Nigeria is as afflicted as every other Nigerian in every other part of Nigeria.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. No? You're wrong, sir. No. You're wrong.
But let me hear you.
But so the reason why I say you're wrong. No. I will mention this and you will continue. The reason why I say you just said that the citizen, the common man in the north, is as afflicted as the person in the west. But what it is that the common man in the north is actually more afflicted. That's what I was trying to tell you. Okay, so now you get it. You get it, eh? Okay, continue. So that's what I'm trying to say. They are even more afflicted than the ones in the west.
You're correct.
Go on, sir.
Correct.
Go on, sir.
You're completely correct. But you see, the unfortunate thing is that unlike those in the west or in the east or even the south,
yes,
he is unconscious of the extent of his exploitation.
Definitely.
He has had over 2 centuries, closer to about 3 centuries of having ignorance weaponized against him. And he carries a vote.
Yes, so.
And he is the one that they will harm because they turn him into a weapon based on the weaponized ignorance that they have already inflicted on him. And the weaponized ignorance does not travel alone. It comes with weaponized poverty. So not only is he ignorant, he is poor. I was speaking with a friend in Bauchi. We haven't met, but we met online. And we chat from time to time. Young Hausa man. At least that's what all of us foolish everybody up there Hausas, even though several people. Anyway, so this young man was chatting with me and he said, so Buhari sent a minister to Bauchi to thank them for not joining the NSAS thing. So this young man got up and be like, no, you don't need to thank us. It's not that we don't want to join. But unlike those ones you see down south, we can't afford to be out for 3 days in a row protesting. We can't afford it. What would we eat if we block the roads for 3 days? We have to go out to get something to eat. So don't thank us. And don't worry, it's not that in fact, we don't even know. Our people don't know they need to be on the street protesting. So there is no need to thank us. So when you hear those kind of things, you begin to understand that when you focus attention on a demand for a referendum that is already couched in terms of a secession, successfully couched so, the man in the north, especially the one who is a member of the northern minority, what he is hearing is that you want to leave him in this bondage and run away. You can't go anywhere now. He will fight the toughest in the battle against such a referendum. But I am of the opinion, and I say this without discounting the grievances of the Igbo, who have for long been the chief recipient of Nigeria's wickedness. I can't quarrel with their demand, but that demand raises the specter of secession in everybody's mind. So I'm saying that instead of focusing solely on that, why not focus on a demand for an equitable Nigeria that is as just for the Igbo man, as it is for the Yoruba man, as it is for the Bacha man or the Anang, if it is fair for everybody, surely it becomes that much more difficult for anyone to speak out against it. But if the focus is on a demand for a referendum that is a barely concealed demand for a secession, in the nobody begs to be given power. But surely, if you've done the same thing over and over and it's not working, you should try something new. Nigeria is 60 years old. We have never once in those 60 years had a single nationalist movement in Nigeria. The only time there was a putative attempt at nationalism in Nigeria since 1960, it was killed. That was in 1993. They murdered it. The only other attempt at it was based on a fraud, and that was in 2015. Why can't we try? Why is it so difficult to find a new nation out of this mess based on equity and justice? If a person now comes out, whether that is a person or an ethnic nationality, and says, no, you cannot have a nation that is based on equity and justice, it becomes easier to isolate such a group or person, and they become at that point automatically the enemy of everybody else. Because tell me, which person does not want justice?
Sorry, Ogadele. What I would honestly, I feel your passion, and everybody, you will not understand the kind of love that people have for you. What I would suggest is that you watch that interview with Chief Dr. Dele Momodu, because that is a game changer. That's a game changer. I don't want us to dwell on Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and all that, because
I will watch it.
Watch it, and that will, because we need where that interview brought us to. It's in line with what you're saying. When you combine everybody's ideas, you see, for the first time, NSAS protest brought us closer to what we have been expecting to see, because it bound everybody together. And based on that, I want us to talk a little bit about what do you feel about NSAS and what the young people were able to achieve, and what the kind of wickedness that the Nigerian government meted out on its own children. I'm not even talking about citizens, on its own generation. There's the same generation that looked at everything that the government threw at them and decided to even forgive the government. The same generation that didn't ask them for money to organize what they organized, cooked for themselves, did everything. Let me leave you to just share your thoughts about NSAS.
NSAS effectively brought about the end of this decadent system. They might not realize it yet. You know, it's very funny. I think about 2-3 years ago, I posted something, I said something online. I said most of the time, the first shot in a war is rarely announced. Most of the time, people don't know. You know, those shots that were fired at the toll gate on the 20th of October 2020 has brought down this decadent order.
I think so.
It might take days, it might take months, it might take years. That's in the hand of God. But what I know is this decadent order ended on the evening of 20th of October. The Nigerian army is a well-practiced killing machine when it comes to slaughtering innocent civilians. It has a long history of doing exactly what it did in Lekki. It has done it at Zakibiam. It has done it in Oti. It does it all over the southeast, almost all the time, with IPOB people. It's not new. It's been happening I saw it with my own eyes in 1993 when Abacha was going to take over. Men were killed like rodents and vermin on the Ikorodu road. It's nothing new. And if you're talking about the Nigerian army, what does one say about the Nigerian police? I've talked about how the Nigerian police is systematically starved in order to make sure that it is vicious. And it sees itself as the instrument for the preservation of the rulers, not as a citizen's police. So it is divorced from us. When you listen to the survivors' account in Lekki, you find that after the army had left, the police came afterwards.
Yes.
And then did a mop-up. The Premium Times report is pretty detailed.
I saw it.
But unfortunately, we live in a country where human life has no value. So when we talk about NSAS, there are several angles to the NSAS thing. But I have dealt with it from the metaphysical plane, and that is where I said, teke mene upasin. The kingdom has been taken from them, and I said that before God, this kingdom has been taken from them. You don't shed innocent blood with that level of impunity, and then deny their very humanity by continuing to deny their existence. That is evil, unadulterated evil. I say this: anyone who finds a peace with their conscience in relation to this, God will judge them. But me, I know something. Before God judges them, the people will judge them, because there will be an account. There are too many people working in the employment of the Lagos State Health Management Authorities for them to be able to hide the number of casualties that were taken into public hospitals. So all this, they are demo, that they are busy. I have said all I need to say about that panel. That panel that they have set up, I triple dare them. Let them keep it on as they are doing now. They will be stripped naked by the time we are done with this, because it is either we are a democracy or we have become a fascist state. But Buhari and Lagos State government and the Nigerian army cannot continue to pretend we are in a democracy and then be slaughtering people without account. That mask of democracy they are wearing, by the grace of God, will tear it off. They will either have to take off that mask, or they would have to account for what they have done. So as far as the reality part is concerned, let me say this: nobody calls back a bullet that has been fired. NSAS was just a metaphor for a citizenship demand. They tell you are a citizen of the world. You probably carry a non-Nigerian passport, which allows you to travel as you please, because you are a citizen of a country. The Nigerian is not a citizen. His passport is certification of his slavery. Our rulers, they fight over themselves to carry the diplomatic passport because they know the evil that they have done to our green passport. We have a nation we can't be proud of. Did I say nation? We have a state that we cannot be proud of, one that is stupidly failing on a daily basis, and then because people carried flags and they are demanding a new nation, you now kill them, and you expect that we will keep quiet, so we would accept that we are slaves. We should have kept up the illusion of citizenship and found a way, maybe even tear gas, buy a truckload of tear gas and choke people up and force them to get out of that place. But no, that wasn't good enough. It had to be guns, bought with taxpayers' money, bullets, bought with taxpayers' money, turned on citizens by soldiers. Those are not soldiers. We might not have been citizens, but those are not soldiers. You cannot tell a man he's a global citizen and then deny him citizenship in his own country. It doesn't add up, it doesn't make sense. It is clear that the Nigerian state has serious questions to answer. It is going to decide whether it is a state ruled by law, one that has citizens, or one that has none. Because nobody kills human beings the way Nigeria slaughters its citizens. Nobody kills human beings. You don't even kill goats like that. Where you are, in your Canada, America, and all those places, when those wild boys, when they go shooting with all those their guns and they kill animals, theirs, they put their hands in the blood. They anoint themselves. They bless the animal for the food it was going to provide for their family. That is an animal. Quran prescribes how you slaughter goats. The Bible prescribes how you slaughter goats. But in Nigeria, the Nigerian soldier, the Nigerian police, we are talking Lekki. Have you seen what happened in Mushin? Videoed, people can see it. They are sharing the. Did you see what happened in the Showon of Ogbomoso's palace? Human life has been so devalued in our country that may I not find peace if I find a way to keep quiet in front of, despite what I'm saying. I can't. It's madness. My very humanity is challenged and devalued if I find a way to keep quiet in the midst of this madness. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. So yes, NSAS, but NSAS has ended them. They just don't know it yet. It has ended them. It has ended them. I don't know how this will handle, but it's ended them.
You know, I was telling somebody that you see, when a revolution starts, nobody actually announces a revolution, because people always argue with me, why does Omoyele Sowore talk about a revolution? It is this. I say, that thing is even like Expo. It's just trying to help the government, that sort of let you guys know what is, because the real revolution, when it happens, nobody will tell you. So I think NSAS is still like warm up. It's just supporting film. You know how this generation, they don't know about supporting film. They don't know that you show supporting film before you show the real Chinese film.
You know, when I started out answering you on the NSAS thing, I said to you, it's like firing a bullet.
Yes.
And then expecting to call it back.
It's too late.
It's too late. It's not possible. The revolution will not be televised.
No.
And the beautiful part of the whole thing is that the Nigerian state is so unintelligent in its reactions. The assumption is always that brute force would break the will of the people and then get us to accept servitude. I don't know why anybody would imagine that that should be the thing to do, but unfortunately, I guess they are still using the same template they used for my generation, where they, all you have to do to break a riot in our time, to break a protest, just shoot one person. They did it in my time in Lasso. Headshot. The first person that was killed in Lasso riot, Kunle Sholawo, he came out of the school library. He wasn't even part of those who were protesting on the streets. They shot him in the head. One single shot, marksman shot. The whole protest ended right there and then. It's not today. The Nigerian state is a well-practiced murderer. That's the fact. So this one, for them, it was just another one, and they thought the way it was in our own time that we would despise and it will end. The error they have made is that they forget one very important thing. Unlike in our days when we complained in silos, we now have gathering places. We talk to ourselves online. We can share ideas. We don't need NTA to speak to ourselves. Look at me and you talking across the oceans. We're sharing ideas. These are men who don't even know how to use, they don't even know how to use their iPads. And they are the ones who are presuming to rule people who exist in virtual worlds. The Nigerian is a global citizen. He cannot accept serfdom in his own country. So no matter how much they try to repress the Nigerian, it's impossible. They are just going to continue to have all kinds of spiraling violence, and because it's inevitable that people will continue to ask this question. How many people are they going to kill? How many people are they going to intimidate? How many people will they keep in jail? They don't build jail for goats now. They build them for human beings. Yeah. And when you send a man to jail for what he has, when he hasn't done anything wrong, look at the LA situation. It's the entire Nigerian judiciary that is on trial. They just don't realize it. A man is facing you, from what to be clear to everyone, is are contrived charges. In fact, the unseriousness of the state in prosecuting Yele should be indicative enough for anyone interested in justice to know that the state is merely seeking to punish the man for his views. And we're in a democracy. So you find that all these things, all Yele did was to unmask Buhari. What NSAS has done is to unmask the entire Nigerian state. The ones in Lagos were the ones who used to shout about progressivism now. They were the ones with the progressive credentials. They could preach democracy at everybody. Their godfather was the one that was the father of Nigerian democracy, Nadeko, Super Lord, and everything. Everybody else, in fact, he even referred to himself proudly as the father of Nigerian democracy. Yes, look at what happened. Democratic Nigeria murdering its people after they had turned off the street lights and the billboard at the toll gate. I bet we this story, bros.
See,
has unmasked the Nigerian state.
You see, from a lawyer's perspective, since we're on this protest thing, a lot of people think that there is a particular way to show grievance, to show dissatisfaction, and so they quarrel a lot with Omoyele Sowore and his methods. From a lawyer's perspective, what are the rights of the citizen to protest or to show displeasure with the government? What does the Constitution provide?
First place, the Nigerian Constitution is a useless piece of document. So let's first of all get that clear.
No, let me say internationally.
Even as useless as it is, it guarantees, at least it says that a citizen has the right to a freedom of expression. He has the right to peaceful assembly. There is nothing Yele did that could have been said to have been criminal. But the Nigerian state is not a democratic state. It merely pretends to be one. Unfortunately for the state, fortunately for the rest of us, not quite so fortunate for Yele, who is the one paying the price for belling the cat. That singular action by Yele unmasked Buhari. The Democratic General showed exactly how undemocratic and intolerant he is. If Yele had not, Yele's style can be impetuous and it can be quite brusque, and that sometimes means
Ogadele, you know this English.
My brother and friend.
No, but you know this English. You have to come down. Yes, just a step lower, brusque and the other impetuous. Please explain.
Okay, let me just say it this way.
Yes.
Yele is not going to speak to you in my own polite, nice. Yele will come at you and be like, give me my distance for what it is, without the niceties of pretending to be polite. When somebody is naturally dictatorial and intolerant, when you go to him like that, you bring out his worst instincts.
Look at the guys who were singing with our flag, sitting down
levels.
gently.
There are two levels. Yele unmasked Buhari. That's one level. These ones that were singing national anthem and waving flags, when Yele wanted to join originally, they resisted him because they thought the Nigerian state only responds brutally to people who demand rights. Are you getting the distinction?
Oh, of course now. Of course.
So it took those boys and those ladies and men, young men, singing national anthem and waving flags.
And dancing Sorosoke.
That was when the Nigerian state was finally unmasked. So there are two levels to the
unmasking. Yes.
Yele unmasked Buhari. NSAS unmasked
The whole
Nigerian
nation.
state.
Yes.
It's not just Buhari that is unmasked. It's the totality of the Nigerian state.
Oh yes,
it unmasked Tinubu.
Oh yes.
It unmasked Jide Sanwo-Olu.
Yes.
It has unmasked everybody. So
all the governors
tend to be who they are not.
All the governors with the did you see the palliative? I couldn't believe it. If it was only one governor or one state, that can you imagine that all of them without exception, the ones that we didn't know is the ones they didn't discover?
Let's get something clear. When I was starting out, I said Nigeria has become a feudalized democracy where the governors are emirs and the houses of assembly, they are more or less like the council of elders, more or less. They don't have any say beyond what the governor says or what the governor's godfather says, as the case might be at any point in time. So what you have is that the Nigerian political class does not have tribe. They are detribalized. They don't know God. They have no religion. They are one. Whether it's Ojiwuzo or Kalu you are speaking about in Abia, or you are talking about Baba Onifila Gogoro in Abeokuta, Amosu, or you are talking about Rochas in Imo, or you go all the way up north and you go and make Gandola. They are all the same.
The same thing.
The same family.
Do you see when there's a wedding? Do you notice when there's a wedding?
Exactly.
They all arrive and is their have you noticed is their children marrying their children?
See, this thing, it is unfortunate that it is the poor Nigerian that has inherited the hatred passed on by our rulers. They don't hate themselves.
No.
Business partners.
No.
One is in APC, the other one is in PDP.
I can switch anytime. Can switch anytime.
Switch. Some of them need to ask their PM, but which party am I in now? But that's the reality.
I will not mention a name, but I went to visit somebody, and the husband is the chieftain of PDP in the state, and the wife is the chieftain of APC in the state, in the same house.
One nation.
The same house.
It's business. They are doing good business. Unfortunately, the Nigerian, who is essentially the commodity of their trade, he inherits the hatred. He accepts the hatred they've given him. He embraces it. So they tell him, the Fulani man is your problem. They are trading with the Fulani man, but the Fulani man is your own problem. The Igbo man is your problem, but the Igbo man provided his son-in-law. They do businesses together. How can you be talking to a non-Christian?
For where?
The daughter just married her largest son.
Yes, so
they run the same. See, so all these idiocies about ethno-religious differences in our country, they are elite. They are the ruling classes' device for keeping the people divided, which is the only way to assure their own powers. Ultimately, Nigerians are more or less united by the commonalities of their afflictions. The poverty level is the same everywhere you turn. It is worse in the place that you want to blame. People readily blame the North for the problems of Nigeria. But the worst form of poverty, the worst phase of insecurity, everything that is truly designed to keep people impoverished are right here in Nigeria, but mostly up there in the North. So you find that the average Northerner is by far more afflicted than the Southerner, but he is unaware. He's as unaware as the Southern brothers of the commonalities of their affliction. And when the only time he's being talked to is when the Southern brother, whom he even sees and envies, because at least you have a vision of your future, he has been robbed of the capacity to imagine a future. So he even resents you for having the capacity to imagine a better tomorrow, which makes you unable to accept servitude, which he has been trained and designed to accept for centuries. So our issues, really, we must understand that, yes, we have all these difficulties, but each person must understand the uniqueness of their challenges. We have deep challenges in Nigeria. We have genuine grievances that should have ethnic nationalities falling for the error of demand. Because why I keep calling it an error is because in 21 years, yes, the superstructure is bad, but our main afflictors have been our own people. It's not been anyone else, it's been us.
Yes, sir, Barrister Dele Farotimi. I really, really enjoy. I knew I was going to enjoy it. You have overshot my expectation. It is expected. It was actually by popular demand. Our guys on our program, they said you must go and bring Dele Farotimi. So I started looking for you.
Thank you.
I would love.
You've given me an assignment too. I'll go and do my assignment.
Yes, please. Where we are going. You know, the thing is, where we're going now is it's a good place, a very good place for activism, for progressive-minded people, and I'm very happy with where we are right now. I'm going to give a chance to our people. You may call in now. Just wait a little while. I'm going to ask one question, and after that answer, you may begin to call in. The number to call is +1 647 989 2837. Dr. Erica is going to put it up on the chat room so that you guys can see it. But when you call with the direct line, because WhatsApp will be bumped off by the direct call. So call with the direct line +1 647 989 2837. Now, my brother Dele Farotimi, I read about you, and I know that in school you were very, very active. I just want to do a little rundown of your past. You know, what led you to, because it didn't just start. Something happened. Something provoked this. You may be able to discover it if you haven't by now, but I'm sure you know. But just run through your upbringing for us. You know, where you had your primary education, how your secondary education was, and in doing that, we'll be able to pick out one or two things. Why this experiment has always worked for me is that there's a lot of wannabe activists. There's a lot of wannabe freedom fighters. Because we don't know. They just drop out of the sky. We look at their background and we don't see anything that prompted them or molded them to what they are today. So let's hear from you, and maybe we'll see whether you just dropped out of the sky to become the kind of person you are.
Let me say this. I always knew that a day would come when I would have questions for the Nigerian state, and I was always certain that the Nigerian state would eventually have questions to ask of me as well. We were always going to have to ask questions of each other, because pretty early in my life, I'd come to the conclusion that Nigeria is pretty iniquitous. Everything I saw all around me suggested to me that Nigeria there was something oppressive. As I was growing up, I was born in 1968. I grew up in Ibadan. I grew up with my grandmother at Inolede, to be specific. And Inolede is just another part of Ibadan. It wasn't an affluent neighborhood, but it had third road. We had pipe bomb water. When it was time to go to primary school, it was the postal lottery. No matter who your father was, you went to the primary school that was closest to your house. There was one directly across the road from my grandparents' home. And that was where I went to school. So it wasn't like I had some privileged background. My mother was out of the country. My parents were already divorced. I grew up in my grandparents' home, a tenement building like any other, everywhere in Ibadan. I went to a primary school right opposite the house. When my mother came back to Nigeria in '77, and we moved to Ojo. So I moved to Aberdeen Primary School inside UI. Aberdeen was for the children of the junior staff in UI, in Aberdeen Village. Aberdeen Village is an integral part of UI. It was where you found the junior staff, what you call the NASU staff. They lived in Aberdeen Village, and there were primary schools there, 2 of them. I was in school too. And by the time I was in primary 5, I was an habitué of the school. There was a children's library in UI, and I'll go there, go read. I immersed myself in that culture pretty early. The one thing I just know was that by the time of the Ali Must Go riot, I was in primary school in Aberdeen there. I saw the viciousness of the Nigerian state as it was chasing students all over UI. I had to swim across Agbowo stream to get out of UI, just as other students, undergraduates, were running as well. So very early in my life, that young, less than just 9 years old, I was already introduced to the brutality of the state in which I was growing up. Then I went to Fidelity Grammar School. That was my mother's village, just a village school. We had teachers from Pakistan, India. We had teachers from Canada, Ghana. We had an international faculty. The education I received there, I've never tired of saying this, but I got better educated at Fidelity Grammar School.
Yeah.
Than my children are getting.
Yeah.
In some of the most expensive schools.
I tell you.
In Lagos.
I tell you.
And then I went to Lagos State University. So, and my father was just a poor man. He wasn't a rich man. I didn't grow up. I'm not a rich man's son. My father was a level 7 clerical. He couldn't even pay my fees most of the time. My mom was the one who had to. Look, the point I'm making is this. I grew up in a society that worked. You didn't have to be rich to be able to cross the class lines. And then I'm looking around these days. I'm seeing children on the street begging. I'm seeing children. These are not grown-ups. We can't say they are lazy. These are kids as young as 5, 6. Some of them, they grew up beggars, born to beggars, held by beggars, grown up as beggars, begging on the street, and the society itself does not appear to be alarmed. And I'm seeing the putrefaction everywhere I turn. When I go to the villages in the southwest, I'm seeing the way poverty has been unleashed against the people. The entire countryside has decayed. There is a mass urban drift. People are drifting to the urban centers to become Okada riders. They don't have any skills. They have no education. I'm seeing in a world where people are creating things by sheer genius of their thinking, all of a sudden I'm seeing my country decaying. Bros, what I am seeing is alarming. I don't know how other people, maybe because they have decided that they will take their children abroad and move abroad, but I don't see a life for my children outside of Nigeria. But when I look around Nigeria, I see that they are destroying the country. So to keep quiet, I can't. I'd rather die shouting, be imprisoned for shouting, be persecuted for. In fact, I'll be happy if they will do that. At least they will draw attention to the madness. Yele drew our attention to the madness. If it is my own consistent unreadiness to accept the insanity of this environment that will draw their attention to decide that I've also become a terrorist, since Nigeria deals more with right activists than terrorists. They prefer to brutalize right activists, kill right activists. Soldiers who cannot fire shots as Zambisa, they can shoot at Lekki Toll Gate. Police who will run away from armed robber, he can turn his gun on armless, defenseless civilians. No problem now. It's okay. But at least at the end of the day, history will record that when they were going crazy in that place, some of them refused to be part of the madness. Look at that young boy, Mandate, the young man in Osun State, just 20-something years old. What the idiot chasing that boy around does not realize is this. Long after, what does he call himself? That their governor. One long after Oyetola or whatever he says he is, long after he will be gone, that young man, his name will not be forgotten because he's standing for the truth. So, my brother, it is a function of the fact that I can't just keep quiet. This insanity is too much. It's too much.
I really appreciate what you were doing, and yes, you came out of a period when things worked, but it's well. Yeah, you're doing your best to see that kind of day comes back. As you can see, I have taken after you, and I started protesting also. Everybody has been shocked at my new look. They said, Chidi, what's going on? And so now today, now when they ask me, now you see the person who influenced my mustache. So
you
now,
your own now.
Eh?
They comb your own.
No. Small madness get level now, bros. At least, can they at least thank me for this level now? At least then we'll graduate. All right, we have a caller. I kept you on for long. Go ahead, tell us your name, where you're calling from, and your question for our guest today.
Thank you, Dr. Mazi.
We can't hear you. You need to be a little louder.
I said thank you, Dr. Mazi Chidi.
Go ahead.
Thank you for coming on this program. I've always listened to your speech, and you are always encouraging. There are three things I want to quickly put out there to support your assessments. Number one is that the unmasking has not ended. The freezing of promoters, the NSAS promoters' account, is another unmasking of how they are clamping down on people. The Eromosele kidnapping Ikeja, who was taken to Abuja without even informing his lawyer and bringing back to Lagos, getting in prison or jail for days before going to court, is another unmasking. See, all these things they are doing, they are just preparing a better ground for people to take back their country. That is the number one. The number two is that we cannot run away from the fact of discovering the nation if truly we are going to live in peace. When I listen to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's speech, I see people abusing him and all of that, and I see them as if maybe they have not really given good thought to what this guy is saying. Nnamdi Kanu has started roughly by insulting Yoruba and all of that, but at the end of the day, he realized this and he came back to a better form where he speaks to people. Nigeria is not a creation of our own. Nigeria was not created because they wanted to be a country. It was supposed to be a platform to exploit what people wanted. What people have. Nigeria was created because the British need to show the other part of their colonial, whatever, their counterparts, that they have control over this region. So they brought us together and showed to the world that don't come here, we have control over them.
Okay, sir. Okay, I'm going to have to take other people's calls.
Let me quickly pose my question to Uncle
Yes,
Pele.
please. Yes, please.
Uncle Pele, if you listen to Nnamdi Kanu's tape, please, will you be able to come back and tell us what you've seen or how you reason with it and what is likely going to be your position after listening to
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take 5 questions and then give him an opportunity to answer, okay? So let's take some other people. Thank you very much. All right, quickly, and this time, please go straight to the point. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Oh, okay, we lost that person. Okay, let's take 3 more calls. Actually, 4 more calls. Go ahead, tell us your name and where you're calling from, please.
Good evening. My name is Nneka Daddy Benma. I'm calling from Lagos.
Okay.
Mazi, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity of Adeli. Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening, bros.
Hold on. Stay on the line. Let's
Lagos. But I don't know if I should come out and protest.
Sorry, repeat your question. We lost you a little bit, so just go back and repeat your question.
as an Igbo person, I don't think I should protest in Lagos. I think I should go back to my own village and protest, because it might turn out to be a tribal something, and because I saw some things going around on the internet.
So your question is, as an Igbo man, does he think it is wise for you to protest in Lagos, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Go ahead, please. Tell us your name and where you're calling from and your question.
Thank you very much. My name is Ebenezer Komalafe. I'm calling from Toronto, Canada. Can you lower down some music, please? Good afternoon or evening in Nigeria, Mr. Faro Timi. I'm an ardent listener of you and a follower of you on Twitter. First, I want to thank you for the free book you gave me to download some months ago, which I am bent on paying for. And I found out that I can find your book now on Amazon.ca, and I will get the paperback because I want to pay you for that great work. I don't want to delay. I have two questions. One, the panel of inquiry has been set up. I want to know what you think will come out of it. I want your very precious opinion on that, and what benefit we will get from it, whatever that will be. The second one is, I have to apologize to Worship Media here because this is another media I'm asking, but we all know it. The CNN investigative video that have unmasked so many things, including tracing blank, quote and unquote, bullets that have been found to be real bullets, and where they even got it, and have put the Nigerian army as have made breeze to blow the Nigerian army's nyash outside. How do you see this vis-a-vis the capabilities and the boldness of the Nigerian media? When did Nigerian people need them? How do you juggle these two words together?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Comrade Ebenezer. Thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna take I think 2 more calls, and then we'll give Comrade Dele Faro Timi. You don't mind if I call you Comrade?
I might.
You might.
Fraudulent comrades in Lagos. Just give me as Dele Faro Timi.
Somebody, Shomole said, please, after Comrade Oshomole, nobody should call him Comrade anymore. They have bastardized the name.
Chebi, at least you know Oshomole. What about all the ones that you don't know are fraudulent? Who wear even the same? They wear all the gaps and array of the revolution.
I know.
They will speak all the Leninist jargons.
Okay, let me go ahead, sir. You are on. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Oh, we lost that one too. All right, go ahead. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hello, Dr. Trudy and Barrister Dele. I really like your thoughts regarding all these things that are happening. But my name is Abayomi. I'm calling from South Korea. So I want to find out what Dr. Dele's thoughts regarding the convoy of Adabia that killed the newspaper man amidst of all this.
Okay, your question is, what are his thoughts about the entourage of Bajamila that killed the newspaper man, right?
And the way forward now.
And the way forward.
For Nigeria now.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We'll just take one last caller, and we will go ahead and give him a chance to answer. There's this caller that hold on. I think we had that call coming in, and I just want to give this person a chance because they kept calling and calling. So let's just give this person the privilege of calling them back. That will be our last call on this segment, and then we will give him a chance to answer and then we will come back.
Dr. Chidi.
Go ahead, tell us your name and where you're calling from, and the question that you have for. Oh, okay, we lost that one. Okay, so it will go to this one. Our phones are just ringing continuously. All right, sir, tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Okay, hello, my name is John McCoy.
Go ahead, John.
From Abia State, to be precise.
Go ahead, sir.
All right, my question goes towards, because I need to be direct.
Yes.
Well, my question goes to Comrade.
Yes.
I want to ask, what would he advise the youths? When I mean youth, from the ages of 18 to 28, watching his life, knowing that he has gotten this money, the youth that just graduated from school and doesn't really understand the message people like him wants to pass with this protest, and looking at the economy, looking at Nigeria, what would be his advice to such youth that doesn't know what the protest stands for? Because it doesn't end with NSACs, it doesn't end with police brutality. The economy is bad, the governance is bad, everything about Nigeria is bad.
Okay, so your question is, what is his advice to the youths, right?
Yes.
Okay, no
Those
problem.
ones that do not understand the protest.
Okay, can I alter your message a little bit? Do you permit us to stretch that your age gap to around 55, because by 50 years in Nigeria, some people are still youth. So please, and Nigerians have suffered. Wait now, Nigerians have suffered arrested development. So if you peg it at 38, you may be dealing with a larger. So thank you for your call. Let's leave him to answer the questions. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
So please, Barrister Dele Farotimi.
Kollington Chidi.
Why do you call me Kollington Chidi? My name is Dr. Chidi Mayawo. Why do you get the call?
You keep calling me Barrister too. So you call me Barrister, I call you Kollington. Dele Farotimi is my name. Don't call me Dele.
This man gonna kill me. So because all those other people too are barrister, you
know, since you are not a barrister, maybe we can call you Kollington. Me, I'm the barrister. You are the Kollington.
Okay, no problem. Okay, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
See, the first question related to the video by Mazikano. See, ignorance is a horrible thing, and I hate confessing it. But I also prefer to confess ignorance than to speak in the nonsense.
Yes.
I will go and watch Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's interview with Dele Momodu. Interestingly, as I've mentioned already, you are the second person who is asking me. I had concluded in my mind that he had said everything I needed to hear. But apparently, I have fallen victim to the same error that I always deprecate. When you believe you've heard it all or you know it all, you begin to make the error of assumption.
Yes.
So I will go and listen and watch, and I promise I will definitely write on the subject, because now I think he's gotten to the
point. He said he asked you to agree that you'll come back on our show. So in front of national TV.
Call me up anytime, brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm the one who should thank you. You're offering me your platform. You've built it with your sweat, your time, your integrity. You've offered a platform. I have the opportunity to come and hear the sound of my own voice. I can't complain now.
No, people I know, Abba, you're just being modest, I beg. It means so much for my platform to have you. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. Thank you. Now, as far as Mazi's case is concerned, I'm glad to hear these positive vibes. I am looking forward to watching it. He's not the only one. There are several of us across Nigeria who should be talking to each other who aren't.
Yes.
And in reality, that has to end anyway. There is Mr. Tony Nadi, for instance. I should be speaking with him. and I will. There are several other people. We should be talking to each other. There is a need to reach out across the east, across the north.
Yes.
We should be talking to each other. So I will definitely go and read that. I watch that. Now, the gentleman who said Igbo protesting in Lagos, what utter bunkum. You're either a Nigerian or you are not. My first visit to the Lekki protest ground was on a Friday. I told people I went there 3 days running. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 3 days in a row. On Friday when I went, there were Christians standing guard protecting the protesters who were having their Juma service.
Beautiful. It was
nobody
beautiful
remembered
sight.
anybody's tribes. What does it matter whether you are Kurukuru or you are Ga or you are TV, whatever you are a Nigerian, you happen to live in the same oppressive environment. If you live in, is it by accident that people went to gather at the toll gate? It's not by accident. It is a totem of evil oppression. That is what that toll gate represents, which was why people went there. They went there because they saw it as a representation of what they were fighting. And the people who attacked them also attacked them because they wanted back what they considered their own patrimony. So we should understand how these things work, so that you're an Igbo man, you are wherever you are in Nigeria, and your rights should not be curtailed. So I think first thing first, yes, you'll find some stupid people finding the embers of ethno-religious differences, but that's normal. Every time the system is losing power, it falls back on its tried and trusted instruments. And those two are always front and center. Tribe, religion. Always. So I don't think it is right for anyone to accept that self-limiting, self-abnegating position that because I am Igbo, I should. So you should travel home to go and protest. Where do you pay your taxes? Where is your home? This nonsense has to stop. Please, let's forget that thing. You have every right to protest wherever you are. Beg. Then this beat. Panel of inquiry. Ebenezer. Brother Ebenezer, let me say this to you. I have practiced law in Nigeria 22 years. I believe I was called in 98 or 99. I can't remember it quite right now, but over 20 years conveniently. And my experience of Nigeria told me, or rather tells me, that if I took this case to court, before I might be able to get witnesses to get into the box, I would have spent a minimum of 3 to 4 years. That's the reality of the Nigerian legal system. They say justice denied is justice delayed is justice denied. Justice is always delayed in Nigeria. The only time you hear that a case goes through the court in less than 6 months is when our rulers are the ones fighting themselves. Well, like when Onogen was busy fighting Buhari, you see cases going through the Supreme Court, through the Court of Appeal in less than 2 weeks. Is that kind of speed is reserved for when they are the ones quarreling amongst themselves. When it is the poor man fighting himself or fighting them, the reality is that you spend a long time in the court process because it's designed to deny you justice. So when they now set up this panel, what the panel does is that it offers us an opportunity to engage them on their own terms. Yorubas have a proverb. They say, now when you know sabi fight, now you go they claim say na the person papa frontage. Now there you don't want fight now. It is their panel. They set it up, yes. But we will take advantage of their panel to benude them. Shino Ogunlano is doing an excellent job before that panel right now. I know he was there today cross-examining the LCC MD. They can tell, the more lies they tell, the happier we are, because the body of evidence to impeach their lies are overwhelming. You can say anything you like. I can ask you, for instance, and I say, Dr. G, are you a Chinese? Where are you from? You say, no, I'm not an Igbo man, I'm from China. You can say anything you like, claim anything you want, but the whole world is watching you and they will judge. But does it end at the panel? It doesn't. The panel is merely, and as far as I see, it is a strategic opportunity to achieve certain ends. One of them is to force the Nigerian army to account. Let men stand in the dock and answer for what they have done, so that when people are giving orders in future, they will think twice because they don't want to end up in the dock. If the people who killed in Odi, in Zakibiam, in Obigbo, the people who have been killing in the southeast, where crocodiles have been dancing and snakes have been busy doing palungo.
Yes, sir.
If those people had been forced to account for the lives that were taken extrajudicially, the ones who are in Lekki would have had a second thought about pulling the trigger. So accountability is important, not only in relation to the current victims, but to ensure that this madness ends. It has to end, because if it doesn't end now, it will happen again, and then again, and then again. And this has been the story of the Nigerian state for the last 54 years. Insanity. Round and round and round in the same cycle. So the Lekki panel is important, if only in the fact that I'm seeing a general with all his swagger. He's standing before the Nigerian people, by whose grace he wears the uniform on his neck, and is accounting for what his men have done. He can tell all the lies he cares to tell in the world. We will show him as a liar. And not only would he be shown as a liar, he will serve as an example to all others who will care to fire their guns on defenseless citizens in the future. We are laying foundations. As minimal or as tokenist as it might seem, it affords the Nigerian people the opportunity to see power being held to account. If we were in the court, the TV cameras won't be there. The eyes of the world will not be there. The matter will not be as fresh as it is now. And don't forget, some people had worked surreptitiously to keep these victims away from this panel. So even though the same government set up the panel, the government itself is afraid of the panel, because it never wanted the truth in the first place. So as far as the panel is concerned, I would say to everyone, pray for members of that panel. There are good men on that panel and there are good women. The head of that panel, for instance, Justice Ulufawo, I think. No, Okwobi. Justice Okwobi, excellent woman. She spent her entire time on the bench. She's one of the few to whom you will not find any corruption scandal attaching. I trust that she will do a sterling job. You have Rinu on that panel. She's a member of the generation that just protested. I expect her to do a sterling job. There is Sega, Shegun Awosonya, excellent man. I knew him when I used to attend churches. Fantastic human being, upright. He's on the panel. And I'm sure that there are other eminently qualified men and women. There would, of course, be government appointees whose sole interest would be to sweep the matters under the carpet. But that's fine. But there are other members there. And whether they make pronouncements that we find acceptable or not, nobody has foreclosed our rights to approach the court. The International Criminal Court remains an option, is open. So there are sufficient mechanisms for holding the state accountable in this situation, because the evidence is just overwhelming. But I'll deal with that in the, okay, it's actually part of this, where the gentleman was asking about the CNN report and all of that. Here is the thing. Because we always prefer the imported products, we have helped to make CNN appear as the discoverer of the truth.
Like River Niger and River Benue.
Yeah, Mongo Park, River Niger, no, it's the same thing all over again. Premium Times did a fantastic exposition on the NSAS protest and the Lekki chapter of the Nigerian war against his own citizens. They did a detailed report with pictures, with evidence of all sorts, detailed, long before CNN, at least 2 weeks before CNN. The only reason the Nigerian government is responding to CNN but conveniently ignored Premium Times is because CNN is telling the world what they have done. So they are worried about the world. The people lending them the money, they are embezzling.
Exactly.
They are worried about those ones. But they are not worried about Premium Times because they have discounted our capacity to hold them to account. So insofar as we talk about Premium Times, we talk about CNN and our local media have their challenges, no doubt. You cannot exist as good in an evil place. The Nigerian journalist is Nigerian. The proprietor is Nigerian. If you are able to have as much money as it requires to own a newspaper house or hold a journal, any form of mass media house in Nigeria, you are somehow a beneficiary of the system. So it is not impossible that this also limits the capacity of the Nigerian press to be as forthright as it ought to be or as it could be. But these days, since God don't catch them, Papa, all of us carry phone now, all of us can broadcast. So the truth is not limited, the avenue for dissemination of the truth is no longer limited to government platforms.
That's right.
Government responds differently to the foreign media than it does to the Nigerian media. Arise TV, Plus TV, even channels, even TVC for that matter. They've shown in even an NTA reporter streamed live from Lekki Toll Gate on the day of the shooting. So the Nigerian state is just busy denying what is obvious, but those deniers are not designed to fool anyone. It's just designed to keep the international community quiet, which is where you people abroad become important for us. If you don't put pressure on the Western capital so that they don't forget us, they don't care what our dictators in Nigeria do as long as they keep bringing our monies, which they loot, to the Western capital.
Let me just chip in there to help your point, and this is just to reassure you. We here, let me speak for Canada. We started the NSAS Canada group, and we told ourselves that we will eventually be the last line of defense. So what we have done, you saw DJ Switch at the Canadian House of Commons. Okay, we are working with all those people in UK. Yeah, exactly. We've written, in fact, there's materials that we've advised people. Why you actually don't see a lot of materials and evidence popping up in Nigeria is because we know what the Nigerian state is planning to do to those materials. So we have helped to be able to submit those materials to ICC, to United Nations, to the Canadian House of Commons, to the US Senate, and all of those places. So people in the diaspora, we understand our duty and we are living up to that. And in the coming weeks, you're starting from the UK Parliament, you'll begin to see the effect of all of those moves that we've been making.
God bless all of you, because if you really truly want to have a home to return to, you really need to begin to amplify our voices back home in Nigeria.
We are.
But I'll go to the fourth question, and that's the one related to Baja, the newspaper man that was killed.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. I actually feel, very unlike me, I actually feel sorry for Mr. Gbajabiamila in this case. And I feel sorry for him because I consider him a victim of the powers that he wields. When a people have become so alienated from their rulers that the rulers require constant protection from the ruled, it gives you an indication of the environment in which power is being held and the end to which is being used. Now, can you imagine, under any circumstances, that a Canadian minister would have a security detail that would be willing to use firearms in the manner that Mr. Gbajabiamila's security detail just did?
They don't even have that here. They don't have security detail.
Exactly.
They just they have their PA, which are civilians. They don't have security detail for where. They come, they enter bus, they enter train.
No, but you see, that's where we should pay attention. You have leaders, we have rulers.
Okay.
Leaders lead their people into a future, a distant future that they themselves might never enter.
Exactly.
They plant the trees, they might not walk in the shade, they might not eat of the fruit, but they plant the trees. Rulers, they have no interest in planting trees. They cut down trees. But that's the way it is. They cut down trees to build new furniture or to build fires so that they can light the evening skies. It's unfortunate. He's a victim of the power he wields. At the end of the day, the real victim is not even the man who is dead. It is actually going to end up being the man who fired the shot, even though he's as much a victim as the person he shot, because at the end of the day, how much is his own pay? The people who gave him the gun and did not teach him responsibility, they are the real culprits. That same idiot that just fired and killed the vendor. How many innocent civilians did he kill during the NSAS protests?
Exactly.
How many has he killed in the past? He might have served in one SARS unit or an anti-robbery squad. They are used to killing with impunity. It wouldn't even surprise me if nothing happens to him. They've taken him to DSS. Since when DSS started prosecuting murder, I don't know. My brother.
Nigeria is just so it's convoluted. I don't even know who does what.
It's a Nigerian tragedy. It's a tragedy. A gentleman asked my advice to the Nigerian youth. If I say the advice is to the Nigerian youth, I'll be insulting myself.
Which bracket are you talking about now?
See, where we are now, we can't even afford to leave anybody else.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
No, is it true? I'm sure the APC, PDP youth leaders, neither of them will be below 40.
No. Which guy?
They'll probably be in their 50s.
Of course.
We've seen 70-year-old youth leaders before. There is nothing new in Nigeria again until we remake it. It's the same sickening cycle.
Jesus
so
Christ.
When you ask for advice for the Nigerian youth, what I'll say is this: the Nigerian youth should never accept that he is less than any other young person anywhere else in the world, regardless of what the daughters in power in Nigeria might say to the Nigerian young people. They should never accept that they are less. They should never accept that our rulers can also get away with the murder and the wickedness by which they rule our people. They should continue to hold them to the standard that the whole world are holding their own leaders as well, even though we don't have leaders. It shouldn't stop us from demanding responsibility from them. And then I need the Nigerian youth to understand something. He is not any less than anyone else. He is as good as the English young, the American young. A friend was telling me about his son. The boy is about 12 years old. They were in front of the TV watching America's Got Talent. This young man, a multi-talented instrumentalist. So the mother turned to him and I was like, so I can't remember the boy's name now, but let's imagine Kunle. So Kunle, when would you also go and perform like this on here? And the boy turned to the mom. Mom, in Nigeria, 12-year-old boy, recognizing the handicap of his Nigerian nationality. 12-year-old. That is not a good place to be. When you think and you are forced to limit your expectations of your capacities. The first way you know a person has been limited and handicapped in life is when the person naturally retreats into a defeatist position that accepts that they are less than the next person. That's an inferiority complex right there. Our children are growing up in an environment that tells them that it is prudent to accept that there are some things you can't do. That's not a good place to be. The Nigerian youth needs to kick that. I noticed that this generation of Nigerian youth did not inherit the cowardice of our own generation.
No.
But I also found that is because they also have not inherited our hopes. They don't have our hopes. They can't hope for a job in the banking sector to make life better for them. My generation could hope that a job in the banking industry would protect them from the poverty we were seeing as we were growing up. They don't have the hope of a job in telecom. It's all gone. Those ones have even outsourced everything these days. It wasn't like it was when they started out 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the hope of an escape to America. Donald Trump has shown them that America is not a place for the black man. So the hope of the Nigerian youth has been dashed severally. It doesn't have so many things to hope for anymore. So because it doesn't have so many things to hope for, it doesn't have so many things to be afraid of. Being unafraid has become a denominator of that generation. I think they call them Generation Z. I got my hands up for those guys. Respect. Well organized, focused. The Nigerian state is not going to know what hits them when these kids get back on the road.
I know.
It's not going to know what it is.
No, I know that very, very. And that's why I'll tell you what happened. Here in Toronto, they didn't understand. We came because we realized they should understand. Let me help you here. I think the youth they are suspicious of our own generation, they are suspicious of us, but they don't understand that we are there to like chaperone, to help them, to help them. That's we recognize the power they have, we recognize their potential, and we will stand behind them, we will support them, because these people they are dealing with are wicked people. So we will fence them a little bit for them to recover. And I know once they recover, like you have said, this NSAS thing is just child's play. We're going to take some more calls, and I know we've had you for long. We're going to let you go, but there were so many calls that we rejected. I'm going to give these people an opportunity. If you can get in your call right now within the first few minutes before we end the show, we will ask Dele Farotimi, before he calls me another name, we will ask him to please answer our question. So please, the number to call is +1 647 989 2837. Go ahead, place your direct call. Let me see if there's okay, we have the calls coming already. All right, tell us your name, where you're calling from, and straight to the question. Thank you.
Okay, my question, this is Jimoke from US. Hi, Dr. Judy. Hi, Dele. My question goes to Brother Dele or whatever. I don't know what to say.
Everybody's afraid to call. Let's call him Dele.
Right. Okay, Dele. My question goes to you. I know that this generation we are talking about right now, our younger ones right now. Thank God for that. For the fact that they do not have the fear that past generations or immediate generation before them had. But now that they are age, well, how are they organizing themselves politically? Or are they still going to allow this diaper-wearing, dementia, satanic, old prophet and evil retired army to still come back and rule them in the near future in 2023, even though they will be Nigeria in 2023? How are they organizing themselves?
Thank you.
My second question is very personal to you, Dele. I follow you on Twitter, and I'm always concerned about your dread. I hope this SF won't be after you. Maybe that is a little bit cheating, but
okay, I'll explain. He didn't hear everything very well, but thank you so much. Dele, he says number one is if the young people are organizing themselves. She wants to know if the young people are organizing themselves. And then secondly, she follows you on Twitter. Personally, she feels for you. She likes you, but this dread is disrupting the like. She hopes that You do something about the dread. Those are the two questions. Okay, thank you so much, my sister. Thank you. All right.
You want me to take that?
No. We're gonna take just write it down. Go ahead. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Oh, we lost this person. We just want to take quickly all the questions and then give you a time to answer them and then round up. So go ahead, guys. Go ahead. Okay, good. We have this one. Tell us your name and where you're calling from, and straight to your question, please.
Good afternoon, Dr. Kidi.
Good afternoon to you.
This is Wale Jimo calling from Chicago.
Wale Jimo from Chicago. Go ahead.
Okay. May I take this opportunity to extend my warmest regards to my...
Oh, you have to speak up. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Yeah. Okay, let me take it out of the speaker. Hello? Can you hear me better now?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Good afternoon, Dr.
Wow.
Good afternoon, Dr. Chidi.
Okay, good afternoon. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Wale Jimo calling from Chicago.
Wale Jimo from Chicago. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Okay, good, great. Yeah, let me take this opportunity to extend my warmest regards to my mentor. He doesn't want to be called barrister, Mr. Billy Fautini.
You go ahead.
So, yeah, I really do not have much questions, but I only wanted to add my own contribution.
No, we'll keep it to questions because let's just if there's no question, I'll give you a chance later. Let's take the questions because he's our guest and we don't want to keep him here.
Okay, just one sentence. So I would advise, or maybe I would chip in that we should try to curate. We should create a platform. You know, he was talking about uniting our people. So maybe we should start to create messages that will bring everyone together, so that we will eventually be able to find one common voice. That is all I maybe just to summarize what I say.
All right. Thank you very much.
And all right, bye bye.
Thank you very much. He's suggesting that we have a platform where we can begin to educate people. All right, go ahead. Tell us your name, where you're calling from, and the question, please.
Hi, Dr. Chidi, Wale from New York. My question is for Barrister Daly. So I know there's so much noise about the youth running for leadership position.
Can you speak up a little bit? Can you speak up a little bit?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so my question is, I know there's so much noise about the youth running for leadership positions. My question is it the problem the age or just the lack of competence?
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So two more questions and we are done with this.
I didn't get what he said though.
No, he said there's too much talk about youths coming out to run for positions and they are not coming up. What is their problem? I guess that's what he's asking.
Okay.
Go ahead, tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hello, this is Michael Problem.
Okay.
A quick question.
Where are you calling from, sir?
Oh yeah, I'm calling from the UK.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm one of those people who is Odudua. I'm a Revolution Now. I'm IPOB.
Okay.
I'm anything that brings progress.
Okay.
Question to Dele. The way we are right now in Nigeria, I would have thought that people who are in the middle class.
Okay, hold on. He can't hear you, and I don't know why. Let me try to see if I can fix something here. The mic.
No, I can hear you now, but I wasn't hearing him.
Okay, you were not hearing him. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me try something. So the microphone.
He can try again. Maybe I'll hear him now. Everything just froze at that point. Anyway.
Okay. Hold on. Okay, go ahead. Continue. Let's see if he can hear you.
Okay. Yes, it's Michael Babelman from the UK. So I was saying that.
Can you hear him, sir? Okay, he can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So at this stage, going on from what he said about teaming up with people like Tony Nadi, isn't it case like we should just shut down the system? Let doctors, let people who are like lawyers, all the professionals, they should just stop at home. I know Dele is the kind of person who doesn't believe too much in people going out to protest. Why don't people just stop at home and just stop going to work?
Okay.
That would have, especially people like bankers, that should be able to shut down the system as well.
All right.
That's my question.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. She will answer it later. You got his question, sir.
Yeah, he was talking more about why it seems I don't like people going on the street to protest. Why are we not thinking of sit at home and all that?
Okay, so let's take this last person. Tell us your name, where you're calling from, and your question.
Hi, hello, Dr. Chidi. Good afternoon. My name is Lola, calling from Alabama, US.
Hold on, Lola. Can you hear Lola? Okay, beautiful.
Loud and clear.
Loud enough. Yes, go ahead, Lola.
Okay, my question to Mr. Dele Farotimi is, first of all, I would like to say kudos to him. Like people like him coming out, people like you, Shiwore, and all that, like they have really opened a lot of people's eyes to really see that we can achieve it, we can do it. So my question, to be brief, is now we see a lot of youth saying, "Oh, let's come to party 2023," and we see some government officials still coming out and advising youth to get ready for 2023. If you know you are not you're not satisfied with it, you can vote up out, you can do this and all that. How will that work? So now they want us to get PVC and vote in 2023. Some even say, okay, either you guys join APC or you join PDP, and we know that would not even bring the change we want. And people are scared of revolution. So what now? What exactly is the solution now? So is it that, okay, so people now, we are a little bit relaxed because they have been preaching 2023 for us, and we are buying it. Some people are buying it. Okay, let's wait till 2023 and we'll show them. We'll vote them out. And these people, they actually have the power. They are the power broker. Like, I don't think anything we can actually do anything in 2023. So that's my question. Like, how will it work? Like, is there something we can do before 2023, or we should wait to, as they said, wait till 2023 and decide what you can do with your PVC and all that? That's my question. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And sorry for the callers who couldn't get in. You can leave us your question in the comment box, and the conversation will continue there. I'm sure even Dele might pop in and answer some of your questions. So, sir, the questions so far, if you could do justice to them.
There is a question that has come over and over. I think about 3 different callers actually asked questions related to 2023. And I would love to take that first.
Go ahead.
And then I'll begin to round up on the different questions that might remain.
Go ahead.
You see, 2023 is a trap. Any Nigerian who is desirous of change in Nigeria, who is waiting to have anything changed in 2023, is either intellectually indolent or completely stupid. The Nigerian rulers, let me not even travel too far so that we can paint a picture that all of us can readily understand. The Nigerian political game is not unlike, you know, those soccer games we played growing up, street soccer. Our politicians own the ball. It's their ball. Let's be clear about that. They own the ball. There are no rules. They are the ones who decide what the rules are.
That's so.
There was a Freudian slip by Oshiomhole. I think it was back in 2018 or so. It was after the Osun election when Mr. Inconclusive was introduced into Nigerian electoral lexicon. He said, those who cannot bear the pain of losing or rigging should not contest elections. There are no elections in Nigeria. Our elections are always rigged. Because it's not even selection, really. Selection they are coronations. They are essentially coronations, because if they were selections, Oyetola will not be in power in Osun. A man went to the palace of a traditional ruler and he was telling the whole world about how he was doing them a favor by lending them the man who was going to be their governor. He was already explaining to them that he didn't require the will of the people to install the governor that will rule in the state. So how do we call that election? And then people are investing their hope in that kind of process. They are running around. They want to go and pick PVC. Their PVC is trash.
Nonsense.
It's nothing.
Nonsense.
It's complete nonsense.
Nonsense.
Let's even assume that one of these persons become governor or president. What would they do with the 1999 Constitution?
So.
What? The 1999 Constitution essentially creates the modern iteration of a feudalized democracy. You vote for your emirs, quote and unquote, vote. You vote for the district heads. Those are your councillors and House of Assembly member, whom the State Electoral Commission conduct their election, and you have 100% for the ruling party in the state.
Yes.
It is not by accident that each and every one of the people who sit as chairmen and women of the different state electoral commissions are retired justices. And yet, you find 100%. So at the end of the day, somebody is sitting down and is fooling himself that what happened in Lekki will not happen again in 2023 because they have new PVC. Okay, so your PVC gets you a few councillor seats here and there in areas where they cannot rig you out. And then what? I remember vividly in the run-up to the 1999 transition to democracy, a group of us who were then in the law school, we had a group, we called it Binokonu. It was a Yoruba irredentist group, and we were affiliated to Afenifere. We submitted a position paper before Afenifere, before the formation of AD. We advised against participating in Abdul Salami's transition, and we said demand restructuring instead. But we had no voice. We were young men. Nobody listened to us. If they had demanded restructuring instead of the bribe that was AD, we'll probably not be in this mess. So every time the Nigerian state senses that it is losing power, what it does is that it sells a dummy. After they broke the back of the 1993 June 12 movement, they started selling power shift. Power shift was what got us the toad called Obasanjo. We got power shift, but power did not shift to anybody. It shifted only to their nominee. If Igbo gets the presidency in 2023, would it better the lot of the Igbo man?
No.
As long as the 1999 Constitution remains the governing document of this country, each and every one of us are rendered stateless. So for me, any Nigerian youth that comes up and is arguing that the solution to our problem is to be found in transition to power in 2023 by a Nigerian youth, the person, watch him well, that person is a crook. The person is just seeking to harness the energies of the NSAS movement to achieve a political goal, a selfish political goal, because systems determine what happens. Everything rises and falls on systems. And the 1999 Constitution, which would be governing the 2023 elections,
exactly,
even if it is amended by those who have gathered themselves in the National Assembly, it will still be a document that has discounted
exactly
my voice.
Exactly.
So what is going to come out of it? Nothing good. Nothing. It won't bet anything good for anybody.
Nothing.
And in any case, the people selling the fraud of 2023 are only seeking normalization. Have we even survived this year that they are talking about 2023? In a country where we are not earning enough to pay salaries. When was the have they paid so These they are policemen who are busy terrorizing everybody. Have they paid their salaries?
Oh.
When was the last? Sorry?
I said, oh.
Oh. The people who can't afford to pay salaries. The Nigerian state exists only for the rulers to be taken care of, the armed forces that protects them to be paid enough so that they can guard them, and the rest of us can go to hell as far as they are concerned. Nobody is spending on it, public infrastructure, nobody is spending on education, nobody is spending on health. Every infrastructure is collapsing. They are talking 2023. Nigeria's situation is urgent and dire. We can't even survive until 2023 if we keep traveling on this trajectory. So please, everybody talking 23, let them, anyone who comes to you and says that because of this NSAS thing, the next thing is we should be talking 2023, is a crook. The person is a crook.
Thank you. See, sorry, I'm cutting in your answering time. This is, I'm so glad that I heard this from you, because when we're doing NSAS Canada here, people will come on the protest ground, take the megaphone and say it is important we organize ourselves and get ready for. I say, how mean can you be? We're talking about people that they shot yesterday. You're telling us about a new party. You people. So I'm glad that I heard it from you.
Look, let me tell you something. If the Nigerian state would do what it did in Lekki, what do you think they will do during elections?
Oh.
Or what do you think they will do during elections? How many soldiers do this young party, people who want to go and form party, how many soldiers do they have? How many thugs do they command?
I beg. Thank
you so much. How many thugs do they command? In 2003, Obasanjo could not move Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Lagos State, in spite of the fact that he controls the soldier, he controls the army, he controls the police. He couldn't move Tinubu because Tinubu controlled the streets. How many thugs do these people control? They want to contest election against Tinubu's political machine in Lagos State. Maybe they will win in places. Maybe they might win in a few seats in Ikoyi where they will speak big grammar. They might win a couple of seats in Lekki, in Surulere, with Gbaja and his control of police that can fire shots because people are there to say that he was his policeman. Do you know how many policemen are not? Even the Nigerian police, every time they have set up panel of inquiry to probe the police, they've always come out to say something. The Nigerian police has criminal elements in his ranks.
Yeah.
Those are probes set up by the president himself. And you are now telling me that a Nigerian police that has been said to house criminal elements amongst themselves, that you do not control, will now supervise election in 2023. Buhari is not Jonathan. And Tinubu is not, forget about it, don't let anybody fool you. Tinubu is not Awolowo. You are waiting on the 2023, you've already lost.
Yes, so
if I'm going to lose a battle,
period,
I'd rather lose that battle now.
Yes.
Anybody who is waiting until 2023 is wasting his time. Nothing is going to happen. So let me go to youth candidacy falls under the same heading, really. It's not about whether the person is a gerontocrat or the person is young. It's actually about whether the person has the interest of the people at heart, whether the structures and systems within which the person is working limit his capacity for abuse. The fact is that the law does not give any power that it also does not limit. So when you see people purportedly acting within the law but without limit, you already know that they are tyrants or that they are operating within a tyrannical system, which is what you saw in Lekki. So anybody who is thinking that they can come and then organize and take powers away from bandits and killers because they are carrying PVC. Have you ever observed the elections in Delta? It's a civil war. When there are elections everywhere in the South, it's civil war. It's the man with the biggest gun, and then they are speaking Dogon Turenchi. You think your PVC will do anything? It won't do anything. So when there is a gentleman that says there are two issues that I haven't touched, and the first is a central platform, and the last is the issue of sit at home, alternative non-violent protest methods. there are only two things I'll say in relation to this. A central platform is in the works. We're already speaking with ourselves. So many of us are talking with each other these days that we're not talking a year ago. Buhari has been an excellent recruiting sergeant for the Nigerian revolution because he has afflicted us. He has scorched us. Buhari has done more than any other person in the last 21 years to raise the consciousness of the Nigerian people. He heightened their hopes.
Yes.
In 2015. So everybody invested their hopes in him. He's proven to be false, which is good. So because of Buhari, it is easier to explain to people that personnel changes will not change Nigeria. So it's become easier to preach a systemic overhaul. Before Buhari, the fraud of a messianic leadership that would change Nigeria was easy to sell. That was why the Buhari project was so successful in 2015, because people who should have known better were most foolish in adopting him in 2015. But that's fine. The beauty is that today we have all received sense.
Yes, so.
Yeah, we've received sense. So it's easier to move away from the trap of maybe if somebody good comes. Nobody good can do good within a bad system.
Nothing.
The system is bad ab initio. So when it comes to central platform, yes, thanks to Brother Buhari, we are being forced to organize. He has constricted the space. So we are forced into smaller and smaller spaces, and that is forcing us into talking to each other. And this will get better. And I'm sure that probably before the end of this month, we would have a clear platform from where we can all speak. I'm in touch with Yeli. I speak with him from time to time. I also try and speak with our mother in the struggle, Auntie Aisha. I'm sure that somewhere along the line, we'll get our hearts together and find a way. And then that bit about this generation.
Sorry, Dilly, since you are at this thing now, I want you to help me do this, because our young people, they must understand that they have been woken from a slumber. And since they have been woken from this slumber, we are very grateful. But they need to understand that what happened was, you know, like when you wake up, you are still sleepwalking a little bit. So some of the things that were being told them about this government, some of them did not understand. Now they understand it after the Lekki incident. Can you help me make them not buy into this thing that is being sold to them, like that people like you, people like Shore are coming to hijack? There's nothing to hijack. Let them understand you are coming to just direct them.
It was always important that they had their unimpeded run.
Yes.
At doing it. That was important.
Yeah.
And I was actually about to start dealing with it, and I'm happy you've brought it back again. See, I think it was Frantz Fanon, one of those socialist scallywags. He said each generation would identify its purpose. And then it will be up to it to choose to either fulfill it or betray it.
Exactly.
The thing with this NSAS thing and the way it has panned out is that originally we, including myself, and even Yeli, all of us, we looked at those kids and we thought, don't mind them, they are busy watching BB Nigeria. Yes. We had a lot of dismissive things to say about that generation.
Me too, on this channel. I was after them.
They were always so distracted. It was always, you listen to their music, all they are saying is, you're asking yourself, what are these kids saying?
Exactly.
Their music is, so after a point, we dismiss them. So you find that when the NSAS thing started, coincidentally, it started after BB Nigeria. And Big Brother Nigeria must be unique in the sense that I suspect we were the only country that had a Big Brother house going on during that pandemic. So when the pandemic ended, when the BB Nigeria thing ended and NSA started, the first thing I noticed was that there was a resentment by that generation. They had resented us for long because we were always dismissing them.
Yes.
So there was a lot of resentment. Take that one as first. There is also a second leg to it. The only conscious, let me not say the only, the conscious person in our generation that has spoken consistently has been Yele. And Yele's voice is quite loud. And his voice is resolute.
Very provocative.
And the state, yes. And the state had done a fantastic job of marketing him as an extreme.
Exactly.
So by the time, and then Yele himself is not, like I had said before, Yele is not a particularly, he's not going to sugarcoat it for you. He won't sugarcoat it. You're either going to like him or you're not going to like him. So I guess by the time Yele showed up, it was easy for them to embrace, one, the resentment they felt for our generation for always dismissing them as a revolutionary force. That resentment was there. Then also, you have to couple that with the fact that the prime force behind the NSAS movement were mostly middle-class children who grew up privileged, and then you had the celebrities. So a Yele coming in was like a hawk coming in amongst...
And social media influencers.
Yes. So as far as they were concerned, what is he doing here? He has come with his wahala. So they started fighting him instead of embracing him. But I said this to some of the victims the Lekki victims that I've interacted with. I told them, there is a Yoruba proverb. It says that the chicken, the little chick, the baby chick,
yes,
is incapable of recognizing the hawk in the sky. But its mother knows all of the raptor family. It knows the peregrine falcon, it recognizes the eagle, it knows them all. Now, whether the young realized it before or not, they realize it now. There is a critical need for a synergy between the powers and vigor and fearlessness of the generation that manned the barricades during the NSAS protest and the idiocy but experience of our generation that they demand that we should Sorosoke. What they forget is that we not only Sorosoke in our youth, we fought.
I'm telling you.
We bled.
We have marks on our heads.
Yes, you know. But now we are telling our stories.
Yes.
They are hearing our stories. We are hearing theirs, and we can see traces of the battles we fought in our youth. A synergy is evolving.
Yes.
That synergy that is evolving is what we eventually consume this unjust evil system. That's because they need to know what we know for them to fight the battles right. They need to know what we know. The only reason we can be dismissing 2023 is because we have seen it before. They haven't. They don't recognize the nature of the evil that we are dealing with. But it is also up to us to engage with them with respect.
Yes.
We need to understand that even though we call them kids, I use the word kids a lot, but I use it paternally. I use it because I see them as my children. Some of them are old enough to just be my friend. Even I have friends that are that young. But generally, I'm old enough to be father to a lot of the ones that I have met. So when I speak to them, when I speak about them and I say, oh, the kids, I'm speaking about the kids as a parent who is proud of what I am seeing them doing. I'm a proud father, if you can call me a father in this moment. But the truth of the matter is that the Nigerian young, they're a fantastic bunch, by far wiser than our generation ever was, and by far more courageous.
That's true.
Perhaps, as I said before, they don't have our hopes.
That's true.
So they have not inherited our fears.
Wow. I wish like we could go on and on and on and on, bros.
My mouth is paining me now.
You now you if they leave you not be lawyer, you go talk for 10 hours.
Lawyer, we don't retire. I'm a retired lawyer.
I know, but no,
time troublemaker.
They know they tire. Troublemakers know they tire. The day we see, the day you shave your head now to Mala and remove everything, that day we go.
No, let me tell Auntie Jumoke in Alabama. She can expect to see my head clean shaven in the not too distant future.
Okay.
The madness is not likely to recede anytime soon, but I must say that it's getting to that point where we need to change the pitch of our voice and the tone of our arguments. So it is in keeping with that new face that, yeah, I will be shaving this hair at some point.
So you mean
make I leave am.
So you mean I'll be shaving this one too?
No, me I go leave this one. I go shave the head completely, okay, so that they go fear me when they see my face.
Don't shave the head though. Just shave only the hair.
Well, I go ask Yagba. I'll ask Mrs. Farrow to me. What did she think? But thank you very much.
Oh wow, it's been a blast having you. I really want to. People were asking me for your Twitter handle. I sent it to them, but just as a confirmation, what's your Twitter handle, sir?
Me, I may look at it. I think it's just at Daily Farrow to me.
That's what it is. That's what I just wanted to confirm it. So that's
all it is.
That's what it is. And we can get this book on Amazon, and also it's free for download. See,
those who want to give me money can go to Amazon, but for those, I'm happy to have them download it free on my website.
Oh yes, but I prefer the Amazon. We should.
Yes, I need the money. Thank you.
Yes, so I
go
beg,
to Amazon.
I beg. We can be. It's good to be polite and all of those things, but please, we need the money. We need to sustain people like you. So you have done a lot, and if that's the only way that we can support your work, there's nothing wrong with it. Thank you so much, sir. I'm hoping that in the near future, after you've listened to Mazin and the Kano, that you're going to come back to us.
Oh, I will definitely do so. I'll do so over this weekend. I'll definitely listen to him.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Our regards to your wife and everybody.
Thank you very much for having me.
Your crew. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Good night.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So that was our brother, Dele Farrow Timi. Yeah, he says if I call him barrister, you give me give me one name. He kept calling it. I didn't understand why he was calling me that name. He says because I was calling him barrister. But anyways, I enjoyed this interaction with him. I'm sure you did enjoy this interaction with him. If you did, and because of what he talked about and where we should take this conversation to, please help me share this video. I'm so happy that we are coming to that point where we're beginning to understand ourselves. You know, the generation of Dele, which I belong, Amoyele Shore and all of us, and the new generation, which I don't really blame them for all the suspicion they have for our generation, but it's important they understand the respect that we have for them, and then we're going to have to, you know, explore this this opportunity for a synergy and then use it for our own good. All right, guys, thank you so much for being on the program. On behalf of all of us in the Toronto studios of Worship Media, on behalf of Dr. Erica and everybody, my name is Chidi. I want to thank you, and don't forget to subscribe and give us thumbs up, click the notification bell, and go to Facebook and like our page. I love you guys. Bye-bye.